Welcome back to FM Coins, where every old coin tells a hidden story and every collector's dream begins with a tiny piece of copper. Today's video is something truly extraordinary, something that can change the way you look at the humble Lincoln wheat penny forever. Because in this episode, we are diving deep into the world of ultra-rare wheat pennies, the coins so scarce, so mysterious, and so unbelievably valuable that a single piece can be worth hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars. Yes, these pennies were supposed to be ordinary change in the pockets of everyday Americans, but fate turned them into treasures that collectors across the world are hunting for. Imagine this: one small penny, lost in a drawer or lying unnoticed inside an old jar, could be worth more than a luxury car, more than a house, sometimes even more than a lifetime of savings. These coins were never meant to survive. They were accidents, wartime experiments, minting miracles, and historical anomalies. Yet they exist, and the lucky few who discovered them became part of coin collecting history. In this video, we're going to uncover the top 4 ultra-rare wheat pennies that continue to drop jaws, shatter auction records, and spark treasure hunts across the globe. You will learn how they were created, why they are so rare, how to identify them, and most importantly, how much they are worth today. Because who knows? One day you might open an old album, check a dusty drawer, or sort through your childhood collection and realize you're holding a fortune in your hand. So get ready, coin lovers, because what you are about to discover is beyond surprising, beyond exciting, and beyond valuable. These are the wheat pennies that turned into legends, the coins that became million-dollar miracles. And we're starting with number 4, one of the rarest and most shocking pennies ever struck. Now we will talk about the 1940 wheat penny. The 1940 Lincoln wheat penny may look simple, but behind its familiar copper shine lies a story filled with history, survival, and unexpected rarity. This coin was minted at a time when the world was holding its breath. The year 1940 was a moment of global tension, technological change, and the early shadows of World War II. Factories were shifting gears, industries were evolving, and everyday Americans carried these pennies during one of the most uncertain chapters in modern history. And tucked within this ordinary coin is a treasure that collectors never stop searching for. When the 1940 penny first entered circulation, millions exchanged hands every single day, paid for bread, newspapers, bus rides, and small essentials. People never imagined that decades later, these little coins would become valuable pieces of American heritage. But here is where the surprise begins. Despite the huge mintages, only a tiny fraction survived in their original untouched brilliance. Most were worn down through years of use, slowly losing their sharp details and rich luster. But the incredibly rare few that escaped circulation, the ones saved by chance, hidden in drawers or tucked away in old coin albums, are the true gems. These high-grade examples, especially those with blazing red color and perfect strikes, have stunned collectors by selling for $5,000, $8,000, even over $10,000 in elite auctions. And then come the rare error varieties, the ones that make the 1940 penny truly exciting. This was an era before modern precision machines, and mistakes at the mint were far more common. As a result, the 1940 penny has some of the most fascinating and valuable errors ever discovered. Double die obverses showing doubled letters, misaligned dies creating unusual shifts, clipped planchets revealing missing metal, and dramatic off-center strikes. Each one transforms the coin into a unique masterpiece. Some of these errors are so rare that only a handful exist, with collectors paying $15,000 to $25,000 for the most dramatic examples. And every time one surfaces, it becomes a headline in the coin world. What makes the 1940 penny even more special is its symbolism. It represents the final years of peace before the U.S. entered World War. It marks a time when the wheat penny was still an everyday necessity, not a collectible relic. Holding a 1940 penny today is like holding a small piece of living history, a coin that witnessed the past, survived the present, and now shines with new value in the collector's market. So the next time you come across a 1940 wheat penny, don't rush past it. Examine the color, the mint mark, the details on Lincoln's portrait, the edges, the letters, even the slightest imperfections. Because hidden inside this simple 1-cent coin could be a valuable treasure worth thousands, a rare mistake that turns into a life-changing discovery. Now we will talk about the 1941 wheat penny. The 1941 Lincoln wheat penny is a coin that carries the heartbeat of a nation standing on the edge of transformation. minted just months before the United States entered World War II. This coin represents the final chapter of an era, a time when life was changing rapidly, industries were shifting to wartime production, and millions of Americans were unknowingly holding on to a piece of history in their pockets. And today, the 1941 penny has become one of the most fascinating coins for collectors, not because of how many were made, but because of how few survived in perfect, high-value condition. When the 1941 penny was released, it was produced in massive quantities to keep up with the busy, growing American economy. These coins passed through countless hands and factory. Workers collecting weekly pay, soldiers traveling to training camps, mothers buying groceries, children saving pennies for candy. Nobody imagined that the small copper coin they spent on everyday items would one day be treasured, hunted, and studied as a rare collectible. Most 1941 pennies were used until they became dull and worn, their original shine lost in decades of circulation. But the extremely rare few that escaped this fate, the ones preserved by chance, saved in jars, tucked away in old drawers, or carefully placed in coin albums before they were ever spent, are the true stars of the collector's world today. High-grade 1941 pennies. With blazing red color and razor-sharp, details can bring astonishing prices. The best of the best, graded MS-67 and MS-68 red, have shocked the numismatic world by selling for $7,000, $10,000, and even higher at major auctions. These coins are so clean, so perfectly preserved, that they look like they were minted yesterday, yet they are more than 80 years old. The combination of age, shine, and rarity makes the 1941 penny a dream for collectors. But the real excitement begins with the error varieties, the unexpected mistakes that turn an ordinary coin into a priceless treasure. The 1941 wheat penny is known for its breathtaking errors. Dramatic double-die obverse strikes where the letters and numbers appear doubled, off-center coins that reveal the empty blank beneath the design, clipped planchets with missing metal, and die cracks that add unique shapes across the coin's surface. Some of these errors are extremely rare, with only a handful confirmed. The most dramatic double-die and off-center examples have sold for $20,000 to $30,000, making them some of the highest-valued wheat penny errors from this era. What makes the 1941 penny so special to collectors is the emotional weight it carries. It represents the final peaceful year before the world changed forever. It carries the last echoes of pre-war America, a time of resilience, hope, and rising industry. When you hold a 1941 wheat penny, you're not just holding a coin, you're holding a witness to history. A penny that traveled through a world on the brink of war, survived generations, and still retained its identity. So whether you find a 1941 penny in an old box, a dusty coin album, or hidden inside a forgotten jar, never underestimate it. Check its edges, examine the color, look closely at the date, the mint mark, the letters, and every small imperfection. Because that tiny detail and that small error, that perfect shine, that untouched surface could transform a simple wheat penny into a valuable collectible worth thousands of dollars. The 1941 wheat penny reminds us that even the most common-looking coin can hide extraordinary worth, and that history sometimes leaves treasure behind for those who take the time to look. Now we will talk about the 1944 wheat penny. The 1944 wheat penny is one of the most legendary coins in all of American history, a coin born in the middle of World War II, surrounded by desperation, sacrifice, innovation, and incredible change. When you look at the date 1944, you are not just looking at a number. You are looking at a time when the entire world was in turmoil, when factories were running day and night to support the war effort, when copper, steel, and every single metal had strategic importance. And right in the center of this global storm, the U.S. Mint produced one of the most fascinating and valuable wheat penny varieties of all time. During the war years, the Mint experimented with different materials because copper was needed for ammunition, radios, vehicles, and military equipment. That is why in 1943, pennies were made from steel and the famous steel cents. But in 1944, the Mint switched back to copper by using recycled ammunition, shell casings from the battlefield. This makes the 1944 penny more than just a coin. It is a piece of wartime history, a coin literally created out of the remains of war. Every 1944 copper penny carries a hidden story. It might have once been part of a spent artillery shell, collected from training grounds or returned from overseas supply lines, melted down, purified, and reborn as a wheat penny. But here's where the real story begins, and where the unbelievable value lies. Because in 1944, something rare, something shocking, and something totally unexpected happened at the U.S. Mint. Few leftover steel, planchets from 1943, were accidentally struck with the 944 dies. This small mistake created one of the most valuable modern coins in the world. The 1944 steel wheat penny, a coin so rare that only a handful exist. These coins are the holy grail of wheat pennies, the dream of every collector, and the star of record-breaking auctions. A genuine 1944 steel penny can sell not for thousands, not for tens of thousands, but for absolutely staggering prices: $300,000, $500,000, and even over $1 million for the finest examples. These coins are so rare that most collectors will never see one in their lifetime. They are the true million-dollar miracles hiding behind the 1944 date. But even the regular 1944 copper pennies, especially those struck in high grade, can be extremely valuable. Perfect condition MS67 and MS68 red. Examples have sold for $5,000 to $15,000, surprising collectors with their beauty and scarcity. These are the pennies that somehow survived 8 decades without losing their shine, without being scratched, without entering circulation. They were saved by accident, by careful collectors, or simply forgotten in mint sets, only to reappear decades later and stun auction houses. And the excitement doesn't end there. The 1944 penny is also known for some of the most dramatic and collectible minting errors. Double dies with doubled letters and dates, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, broad strikes, and even transitional errors where a 1943 steel planchet was mistakenly used again. Each of these rare flaws turns the coin into a unique piece worth tens of thousands of dollars, depending on its condition and rarity. Collectors chase these varieties intensely because no two errors look the same. Each one is like a fingerprint of history. The 1944 wheat penny is special for another reason as well. It symbolizes a year of hope, the turning point of World War II, the moment when victory began to feel possible. This penny circulated in the pockets of soldiers, factory workers, nurses, farm workers, and everyday citizens who were united in a common struggle. It represents resilience, strength, and the determination that defined a generation. So if you ever find a 1944 penny, don't ignore it. Study it carefully. Check its color, test its metal. Look for unusual shine, examine the edges, the lettering, the mint mark, and most importantly, check if it sticks to a magnet, because that tiny test could reveal a life-changing treasure. A simple penny from 1944 might turn out to be a rare, high-grade gem, or even one of the ultra-rare steel versions, worth hundreds of thousands to over $1 million. The 1944 wheat penny is more than a coin. It is a survivor of war, a symbol of history, and one of the greatest hidden treasures in American numismatics. Now we will talk about the 1945 wheat penny. The 1945 wheat penny is a coin that carries the emotion of an entire nation. A coin minted in a year when the world was taking its first deep breath after years of war, sacrifice, and uncertainty. When you read the date 1945 on a penny, you are looking at the year World War II finally came to an end. It was a time of victory celebrations, returning soldiers, rebuilding families, and a country filled with hope for the future. And in the middle of this historic moment, the U.S. Mint was producing one of the most symbolic wheat pennies ever created. By 1945, the Mint had perfected the wartime production process. Just like the 1944 penny, the 1945 wheat penny was made from recycled copper ammunition, shell casings, metal that once powered. The war effort now melted down and reborn as everyday coins. This gives the 1945 penny a unique identity. It is not just a piece of currency, but a transformation from war to peace. Each penny represents the final chapter of the wartime copper alloy, a material touched by history, reshaped into a symbol of new beginnings. When you hold a 1945 penny, you may literally be holding metal that once echoed across battlefields, now carrying the message of a hopeful new era. But what truly excites collectors today is how rare and valuable certain 1945 pennies have become. Even though millions were minted, only a tiny fraction survived in pristine condition, untouched, uncirculated, and preserved with the fiery red luster that collectors dream about. These high-grade MS67 and MS68 red examples have brought incredible prices at auction, with some selling for $5,000, $7,000, and even above $10,000. These coins are so flawless that they look frozen in time. as if they were minted seconds ago. They are the absolute cream of the crop, museum quality, pieces that stand apart from the ordinary 1945 pennies found in circulation. But where the real thrill begins is in the world of minting errors. The 1945 Wheat Penny is known for a wide range of valuable mistakes that occurred during production errors that today can be worth thousands. These include dramatic off-center strikes, where the design is shifted so far that parts of the blank planche are exposed. There are clipped planches caused by metal misfeeds, double die obverse and reverse, varieties where letters and numbers appear doubled, and die cracks and cuds that create unique raised lines or blobs of metal across the coin. Each error tells a story about how this coin was created at the mint during a time of intense pressure, speed, and workload, and each error increases the coin's value dramatically. Some rare double die and major off-center 1945 pennies have sold for $15,000 to $20,000, making them highly sought-after treasures for collectors. What makes the 1945 Wheat Penny emotionally powerful is not just its value, it is what the coin represents. This penny circulated in the hands of soldiers returning home, parents rebuilding their families, workers transitioning from wartime factories to peacetime industries, and children experiencing hope and stability after years of struggle. It is a coin from a turning point in history, a moment when America stepped out of the shadows of war and looked toward a bright new future. So whenever you find a 1945 penny, treat it with respect. Check the mint mark, examine its luster, look closely at the edges, the lettering and the date. Inspect it for errors. Even a small mistake can make it worth far more than you expect. Because hidden within this humble 1-cent coin could be a valuable uncirculated gem, or a rare minting error worth thousands of dollars. The 1945 Wheat Penny is more than just an old coin. It is the final wartime wheat cent, a symbol of victory, a survivor of history, and a rare collectible that continues to captivate the world of numismatics. And that brings us to the end of our journey through some of the most legendary and fascinating wheat pennies ever created. These tiny copper coins may seem small in size, but their stories are massive, filled with history, mystery, wartime struggles, minting miracles, and unbelievable value. From the early 1940s to the final years of World War II, each penny carried a little piece of America's heart, traveling through pockets, shops, farms, train stations, and battlefields, all while holding secrets that today are worth thousands, even millions of dollars. Maybe you have one of these coins hiding in an old drawer. Maybe it's sitting in a forgotten box, tucked inside a childhood collection, resting in a dusty jar, or lying inside an album that hasn't been opened in decades. The magic of coin collecting is that treasures don't always announce themselves. Sometimes they wait quietly for the right person to notice. And who knows, maybe that right person is you. These wheat pennies teach us one incredible lesson. Never underestimate the value of something small. A simple penny, a coin most people ignore, can carry a story powerful enough to change history and a value high enough to change your life. That is the beauty of numismatics, the excitement that keeps collectors searching, and the passion that brings us together on this channel. If you enjoyed this video and want to explore more rare coins, million-dollar secrets, and hidden treasures from around the world, then make sure you like the video, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss the next episode. Because here on FM Coins, every coin tells a story. Every story hides a mystery, and every mystery might lead you to a priceless discovery. Thank you for watching, thank you for supporting, and thank you for being a part of this amazing journey. Stay curious, keep searching, and I'll see you in the next treasure hunt. This is FM Coins, and where your next big discovery begins.